Obscura.
Welcome to Anthology Obscura. I'm Louie, and as always, I'm joined by Sam.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we're Chrisless. No Chris in this episode. He's off doing unknown things. I don't even know what Chris is doing.
Jabroni.
He is a jabroni. Chris, if you listen to this, you're a jabroni.
He's on adventures.
He's on adventures. He's on assignment. He's on assignment doing something. And yes, you hear you do hear another voice. And we're joined by a guest, Mr. Manny Serrano, someone I've known for many moons, a very long time. Entirely too long. How long? 18 years now, or something like that?
19.
19 years. I don't even know. I know. Isn't that crazy,
years.
Sammy?
Well, this July is me and Lynn's 20th anniversary, so it's 19
Holy
for you.
shit.
I know.
Wow.
Can you fucking believe that?
I remember when you guys met, because Louis was he was just a boy. He came home and he was like, oh, hey, I met somebody. Innocent on the bus. Oh, yeah.
What? And now everyone has wrinkles and grays. So there you go.
I don't have grays. I have blues.
All right, fine. There you go.
I'm more gray.
I have a couple grays. I have a couple grays in the beard, on the sideburns here. But yes, we've known each other a very long time. Filmmaking, both of us filmmakers. Started around the same time working on projects. We're not going to get into that because that's a whole other episode we can honestly do for 3 hours probably talking about.
That's an entire show in and of itself.
Yes, like exactly. And you know
mini-series.
You know what? One day we might, just for fun, I might do it through Haunted Hangover just because I think it would be a fun conversation. And my sister Sam has also been involved in many of these projects.
Yeah, I have.
So
we have tortured her many a time.
Many times, yes, many times.
But they're some of the best memories I have.
There you go.
And the worst, right? So, both ends of the spectrum.
12-hour days.
12-hour days, 24-hour days. How about that? There's been days where there's been no sleep. Many projects. And speaking of projects, before we jump into the main topic and what we're going to
What a professional segue. I know.
You saw that, right? You like that, right?
Look at that. You're getting good at this.
Yeah. Been doing it for 2 years. I bet
you should have your own show. Yeah.
Man, if only someone would give me my own podcast. If only. But yes, speaking of which, and since this is an anthology-based show, we cover anthology television and film in the future. You have a new film. That's anthology, and I want you to tell us a little bit about it and why you decided. There you go.
I come with props.
I was gonna say the title, but I was like, you know what? Let me let you do it. But yes, tell us a little bit about Dark Tales from Channel X. Tell us about your film.
Channel X.
Tell us about your film and why you decided to go the route of anthology.
Well, first off, I love anthologies. Dark Tales from Channel X. It is an anthology, and it is about a girl who is babysitting because, you need a babysitter.
Of course.
She's babysitting. Yeah. And she realizes that her cell phone is dead and her plug is broken. So she hunts through the house looking for a charger and finds an old TV set in the basement. Very old TV set. TV set turns itself on and begins showing her creepy movies. That's the setup. I'm not going to introduce every single one of the films. But
I was hoping to go through every single one. I'm just kidding.
Nope, let's not do that.
How many films are they in one, essentially?
Including the wraparound is 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But it's only an hour, 13 minutes, so they're actually
really they're quick. Shorts. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they're all very short. It's not creep show epic.
It's not 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes of just storytelling. Okay.
No, I managed to shorten it this time. No more 2.5 hour slasher films for me.
That's impressive. That's impressive. If I remember correctly, Sam is in one of the segments, right?
She is.
There you go.
Yes, she is. She's a bitchy friend. She is a bitchy, horrible friend in Beneath. Yes,
which is so far from who I am.
Sammy, how hard was that to pretend to be this bitchy?
I just had to really go for it on that one, guys.
But yeah,
it was fun.
But yeah, I thought it would be great to have you on, Manny, because, the main show is obviously Halloween based, and I'm sure I'll get you on that one too eventually. But I thought it'd be better for you to be on this because anthology is so important, especially the to film, you.
It actually is technically takes place on Halloween, but they don't actually say it. But there's like little pumpkins and Halloween decorations in the house. It's just I didn't want to make it too blatant because it's just
because there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of anthologies on that take place on Halloween. So
yes, there's a lot of films that take place, especially horror films, on Halloween. Even I'm trying to get away from that, but it's hard.
Can't contain it. You can't help yourselves.
Can't help it. It's hard. It's hard to just get away from Halloween. So got an entire show about it now. But yeah, so we'll talk more about that towards the end of the. We'll talk about your film towards the end of the episode and jump into what we're going to be talking about, and that's the Masters of Horror episode, Cigarette Burns. Now, let's talk a little bit about Masters of Horror because I feel like it's a very short-lived show. Didn't last very long. You don't hear many people talk about it these days, surprisingly, and I'm surprised they haven't tried to bring it back, considering what kind of cult following it has, and a lot of people, when it was on, were really into the show. And I remember you and I hanging out, Manny, and it was on TV. It was a brand new show years ago.
We did watch that together, didn't we?
Yeah,
2005.
I'm 90% sure we watched a lot of these episodes.
What was it
together.
on? What was it aired on?
Showtime.
Okay. I vaguely remember watching it in high school. It's funny because when you had sent this over for the episode, I was like, have I watched any of these shows? But once I put it on and I saw like the intro, I was like triggered. I was like, oh my God, I had so much nostalgia. So I definitely watched it when it was on TV with you.
Yeah,
you kind of put me on for it.
I'm sure you probably saw episodes because of me, more than likely. Yeah. So that kind of makes sense. And I vividly remember with Manny watching the Deer Woman episode. That's season 2 though, if I remember correctly, not the first season. I might be wrong. And I remember watching Jennifer together, which is the Dario Argento episode, which is one of my favorites personally, along with the one we're going to be talking about. Now, some details on Masters of Horror. Basically, it was created by Mick Garris, who's a horror director, writer. He wrote Hocus Pocus, which is what I always remember him for, and he directed a bunch of not very good.
Psycho 4.
No, some good films, but also some not very good.
The Stand.
The Shining, though. Come on.
The Shining.
But yeah, I don't know if that was a great...
horrible TV version of... I hated that so much.
I'm not a fan of it either. That's why I said he directed some pretty awful...
He does. He's a hit or miss. He's hit or miss.
He also directed, I think, Critters 2, which I do enjoy.
Yes, he did.
So, again, hit or miss when it comes to stuff he's directed. But again, he wrote Hocus Pocus, which I think everyone enjoys and loves in some way, especially if you're a fan of Halloween. And the format of the show is basically a very well-known horror director directs a story per episode in, obviously, again, anthology format. Every single episode is self-contained, telling one singular story. Now, I was reading online just for this episode, just some research, because I didn't even know this, but apparently Mick Garris orchestrated these like dinners with horror director. I did not know this.
Yeah, he still does them every month or two sometimes at his house and sometimes at a restaurant.
But cool.
He's always called them the Masters of Horror Dinner, and he's been doing it 20 years or so, and it's just all the friends, they all get together, whoever's around now. Like Eli Roth's been going for like 15 years. What's his name? Mike Flanagan goes there now, so it's just one of the, it's a regular dinner. He just feels that like everybody works so much and everybody's always either, all different places. It's a place and time that everybody can just get together and see each other, whether they're if they're in town, they're available, and it could be anywhere from 3 or 4 people to like 15 or 20. Like if you Google Masters of Horror Dinner Mick Garris, you'll see pictures of them. Like Guillermo del Toro sitting at the table next to next to Mick Garris and Wes Craven. Like, and it's like, Jesus Christ,
that would be an amazing room to just like sit in.
Just to sit.
I went to we went to Larry Fessenden's Christmas party a couple of years in a row, and dude, the people that can be in and out, like I remember I was sitting in the living room. And I'm talking to Brian Smith, who's one of the judges for New York City Horror. And there's a rumor going around the party, like a whisper, because fucking Fessenden's got one of those apartments in Lower Manhattan. He's actually right across the street from Two Boots.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
He's got one of those apartments where the entire floor is his.
Oh,
you know? It's like a loft style.
Yes, he's in one of those. So it's like this fucking apartment is bigger than our damn house. The amount of rooms, the amount of space, it's crazy.
He's doing well.
Yeah, you know, and there's rumors going around about who's. And there's somebody here. Who's here? Mary Herron is here. I heard Mary Herron is here. We're like, wait, what? Yeah, Mary Herron just showed up. And about 15 minutes later, I finally saw Mary Herron. There were so many people in this place just walking around that, like, there's rumors of who is here.
That's a pretty funny story.
You know, so the Masters of Horror thing is, so this is like that. I think that would be like New York indie horror. Like,
yeah.
What's his name? What's his name was there? I met, shit. Oh God, I can't. Heather Buckley goes there clearly. Yeah. Jen Wexler's always there. Your buddy Rigo's
always there. Yeah,
Rigo's always there.
He's told me about it before.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't think of his guy's got a really weird name. I met him a long time ago. Doesn't matter. Yeah. It'll hit me later on, and I'll just shout it out.
Just randomly shout something out.
Exactly.
But it's
one of those types of things where everybody gets together, and it's kind of like that's how they all got somewhere in their career a lot of the time. Like, this is how Eli Roth has all those, how he does all these little cameos, because it's like, oh, hey, so yeah, so Mick Garris just said, exactly. So Mick Garris was just like, hey, let's do a dinner together, let's do an anthology together, and like John Carpenter, he had to like beg to do it. Carpenter didn't want to do it. He didn't want to direct anymore. He was done, and then he read the script and loved it.
It's funny on the normal Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm sure I've mentioned it. Anytime you see John Carpenter in an interview or they're talking, and I love John. John Carpenter's like one of my favorite directors. He always says like he doesn't want to be there unless you give him a nice check. You hand him that check, he's like, I'm there. He's like, yeah, I'll write off any rights you want. I'll score your movie. I'll do whatever. Yep. You sign me that check, I'm there. Yeah.
He doesn't want to be on set.
Old. Yeah, he's 70 years old. I get it, and I also don't get it, but whatever. That's John. He's an old man. Whatever. It is what it is. He's done this thing for many years, and I totally understand that maybe he's over. He wants to write his music, release his albums, go on tour with his son and his, I think, godson or whatever, write, score horror films, and keep it moving. But yeah, one more little tidbit about the show Masters of Horror. Again, it was canceled after 2 seasons because Showtime had no interest in keeping it. They eventually were able to, Mick Garris was able to strike a deal with NBC and I think Lionsgate, if I remember correctly from what I read. And he created Fear Itself, which is basically the same show, a little neutered because it was on regular television broadcast. There's not a lot of gore, no profanity, no nudity, which was one of the most important aspects of Masters of Horror when it was on Showtime. So I don't remember Fear Itself as well as I do Masters of Horror.
That doesn't even sound familiar to me.
It only lasted one season.
Yeah. I have the DVD and I never finished it. Because they were just so like, oh.
Yeah, it's again, neutered versions of, it was a neutered version of the main show.
We went from friggin' cigarette burns and Imprint to Supernatural,
it wasn't.
No boobies and no blood.
Yeah, who wants that?
The stories were worse too. The budgets were lower. It wasn't
good.
It wasn't.
No. All I remember is Brandon Routh, the guy that played Superman once, was in an episode. That's basically all I remember about that Fear Itself. That was like
I don't even remember which episode.
I think, if I remember, I might be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's in an episode of Fear Itself. But yeah, no one watched it. It got canceled, and surprisingly, they never brought it back because I feel like Mick Garris has had a bit of a resurgence. He has like a podcast I know it's popular. I'll be honest, I've never listened to it, but I know it's...
I think he's had the podcast longer than he's been doing the dinners.
Oh, really?
Like he's been doing... Well, Mick Garris started, before he started in film, he was a journalist.
Yeah, he was a photographer. He started as
a photographer and a journalist in the 70s. So he's always interviewed people regularly, so it's just one of those things. That's why you got everybody in Sleepwalkers.
Everyone has a cameo in that movie.
Yep.
Sleepwalkers is a good movie. I haven't watched it in so long, but it is a good movie. And he seems like a good dude. Like anytime I've seen interviews or like him talking about, like, you could tell he loves horror. He loves the genre. He appreciates it.
He does.
He respects it.
You should listen to the podcast. You'll like it.
I have to give it a listen.
Really like it.
Surprisingly, I haven't checked it out. I've seen it pop up.
What's it called?
Listened.
Do you know what it's called?
I forgot.
Postmortem with Mick Garris.
There you go.
Yeah, I listened to it most of the time. Last month they did it was 30th anniversary of Sleepwalkers and 20th anniversary of his Shining. And whatever nonetheless. Yeah, but he did
say his Shining.
Yes, his Shining. Got to make that clear.
Make that very clear.
Yeah, he did an episode where he interviewed the two of them from Sleepwalkers.
Oh, I forget it. I know who you're talking about.
I can't think of their name. The two leads. He interviewed the two of them, and that was actually really, really cool to listen to. Hearing all the stories.
The dude that turns into the cat monster thing. Mm-hmm. That guy. I forget that actor's name.
Yeah,
I know
him and what's her name from Twin Peaks.
Yeah. I forgot.
She's got a weird name.
The girl with the dark hair, right? From Twin Peaks.
Yes.
I completely lost brain fart.
Yeah, I'm not there. I was on cigarette burns when we signed on here, so
yes, it just turned into us talking about Twin Peaks and Sleepwalkers for some reason. But yes, let's jump into cigarette burns really quick. So since you picked this episode, before you go into the quick synopsis, this was released on December 15th, 2005. It's part of season 1, episode 8. Again, obviously, directed by John Carpenter. Music by Cody Carpenter.
His first job.
Yeah, first time as a composer, which I feel like John Carpenter now, everything he scores, Cody's right there with him. Fun fact, that's Adrienne Barbeau. It's his mom. I don't know how many people know that. He looks just like Adrienne Barbeau when you see pictures of him, funny enough. He looks more like his mom than his father. And it stars Norman Reedus and Udo Kier. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm missing anyone else that I recognize, in all honesty. that's in this. Anyone else?
Really?
There's like 3 other people that they're not.
Yeah.
And there's one of them is covered in makeup, so you wouldn't even know.
But with that out of the way, Manny, hit us with the episode synopsis.
It's only going to get worse from you.
What started? What's happening to me?
Are you my sweet man, Kirby?
As soon as you start getting close to it,
it's inside you.
Tell me where the film is.
that's not what you want to know. You want to know if the stories about the film are true.
I know what you want. You want to see the movie.
Relax.
Something happens when you point the camera at something terrible. The resulting film takes on power.
Cigarette Burns, as you said, stars Norman Reedus. He plays Kirby. He's hired by Bellinger, who is Udo Kier. He hires him to find the lost print of a film called La Fin Absolue du Monde, and they say that title as many times as is humanly possible.
They do.
Like, I think if you turned it into a drinking game, you had 10 minutes and hit the floor.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how many times they say that. So the film La Fin Absolue du Monde has only screened a handful of times, and each time it's screened, it has sent the audience into a mad, crazed, violent rampage, or made people crazy. Either way, it affects everybody a little bit differently. The film itself is also, because I want to not say it so many freaking times, so, but Du Monde is directed by a man named Hans Bakovic. And Hans Bakovic kidnapped an angel and ripped its wings off, cut its wings off, literally sawed its wings off on camera. So Kirby is hired by Bellinger and to globetrot looking for this film for only $200,000. That seems very low.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that we're literally finding a film that drives people crazy, drives them to murder, and contains the murder of an angel. I feel like that's worth a little bit more, but anyway.
I agree.
So, yeah. So Kirby goes around looking for the film, and as he gets physically closer to the film,
answer, yeah.
it starts to affect him, and he begins to see the cigarette burns in his mind as well, like in crazy flashes.
Because it's basically he's becoming a part of the film. It's kind of their explanation of it. It's like anyone who, I guess, goes near it or is involved, because you don't have to necessarily watch it. It's like just be a part of it, and you end up being a part of the film. That part is really ambiguous. They never really go into that too much as to, obviously it's supernatural. There's a goddamn angel you know what I mean? Involved. But yeah, so really quick, Manny, why is this? Why did you pick this number one for this show? And why is this your favorite of the Masters of Horror series?
Well, I picked it because it's my favorite, but
I figured. That's a little redundant. You're right.
A little bit. It's my favorite style of horror is cursed objects. That's my favorite style of horror film, and this is a cursed object film. So the film is a cursed. It is cursed objects. Witchboard type. Witchboard and all the Amityville sequels.
Yeah.
But The Ninth Gate is a cursed object film.
Oh yeah.
And this is basically The Ninth Gate with a film instead of a book.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
It's essentially the same story. Hardcore could be considered almost a cursed object. It's not actually cursed, but it's what the film represents in it is a curse to George C. Scott in the film.
Yeah.
And that 8mm, same thing. There's elements of 8mm in this as well. There's elements of hardcore.
I see a lot of that. I was going to say 8mm, especially that one scene with the dude with the leather mask.
God. It is totally 8mm. 100%.
There's so many. There's I mean, more commonly known ones. Evil Dead. That's a cursed object.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Ring. That's a cursed object. It's a tape.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
the list goes on.
Can you see it? My Witchboard replica back there. I got a replica of the Witchboard from the movie. Yeah.
There's it's crazy. Those are things that you don't actually think about when you're watching. When I'm watching a horror film, I don't really think about what kind of horror am I watching here. It's mostly just is it gonna scare me or not? I never think of what type of word genre. But cursed objects, I guess I really like those too. Come to think of it, wrap my head around.
You just never realized they were cursed objects.
I never realized. Yeah, I'm well, I do like these.
Because you like The Ring a lot, even though you were scared of it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But it's
that's just
object.
It is technically a cursed object, but that goes on.
You want to know what I love about this episode in general, and it's something I don't even know if in 2005 it was a thing, but the whole lost media being a thing, where it's like a film or TV show that a lot of people haven't seen, and even now, we get a lot of creepypastas.
It was 30 years old at that point too, right?
Yeah, at that point, the film was I think it was supposed to be the 80s, right? Or if I remember correctly, 70s. But yeah, the whole lost media thing, where you have a film like Crybaby Lane, where all it is kind of a generic children's family horror film that aired on Nickelodeon twice, and they said it was too scary and never aired it again, and this whole legend was built around it. That's all complete horseshit. But people, you go on creepypasta websites and you see people.
Polybius.
Yeah, you see people. Yeah, exactly. You see people that make up these stories. I saw it once and I couldn't watch it. The VHS broke. And then when you actually get to watch Crybaby Lane, it's not that great.
Broke.
Yeah, but it's saying it's not that good of an act. It's not that good. But lost media, you always hear about it. There's a SpongeBob episode that's been missing for 20 years, and it's really dark.
I spent a long time looking into that one, because I am a huge SpongeBob fan.
Yeah.
But anything you can actually find on the internet is terrifying because someone made it so. I don't think that was actually what the episode was. The one where like Squidward commits suicide or something. Sorry, I don't
yes.
I don't want to go off topic.
But I'm just saying, like, that idea, the concept of lost media and cursed, it's kind of like the cursed object and lost media, because in this episode, I'm not even going to try to say the name of the film because I'm going to butcher it. Absolute de monde, and that's why.
Fun fact, Louis hates the, like, French language and the way French people talk.
I hate that damn French language, apparently.
It takes effort to speak, and he doesn't want to put any effort.
Every time he, like, hears people talking with French accents, he's like, oh, God, I don't like it. I don't like the way French...
Listen, I hope there's no French listeners of our podcast.
No, you just lost the whole country, buddy.
Yeah, we lost the whole country. I love the French people.
The fact that they say it so much in the episode, I was like, I can just imagine Louis being like, we get it.
I don't hate French. You're making it sound like I don't like France. I just the dialect. I'm just not a big fan of how the words are pronounced and stuff like that. It's not my favorite. I guess
it's not your favorite
language.
of the languages.
It's not. I love French people. Whatever, they're cool.
They're
cool. Yeah,
they're cool.
You know, there actually is another film called Fury of the Demon. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's a mock documentary, and it's French. But it's actually it came out, I would say maybe 10 years ago or so, and it's actually almost, I guarantee it's about this. They saw this and they wanted to make their own. Fury of the Demon is about it's about a film that's I think it came out in like the 20s or 30s or something, and has driven every audience insane.
Oh, they definitely watched this episode and were inspired.
So I haven't watched any of the American Horror Stories anthology, but I was watching this episode with my boyfriend, and he said that there's an episode on there, on the American Horror Stories, that it is exactly like this.
Really?
It's called, and we can watch it and talk about it later, but I was like, damn, so they really, like, I don't know.
Everyone's ripping this off.
but that was very recent. That was like last year or the year before
last year.
And I think it's called Drive-In, and everybody goes to watch this movie.
Oh, from the anthology season.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one at all.
Neither did I.
I gave up after the circus.
The whole no, it's the American Horror Stories, the anthology. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So it's same exact thing happened. He said, it's like everybody goes crazy, starts killing each other, and the whole episode is about this absurd film that fucked everybody up. And I was like, oh, that's risky.
I guess it's an idea that just inspired people, and you know.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
It's an old idea.
Yeah.
It's, if we want to get real into it, because this is, again,
I mean, everything's been done technically before. It's how you do it, I guess.
Of course. No, of course.
You know?
But this specific thing, again, like, I love cursed objects, so this is a thing for me. Have you ever heard of The King in Yellow?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I have not watched this. Have you? I'm assuming you've both watched True Detective.
Of course.
Yeah.
The first season, the Yellow King, the Yellow King.
Now I remember, yeah.
Okay. This all comes from late 1890s or so. A guy wrote a book, and the book was about a place called Carcosa, and that's in True Detective as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carcosa is an island in the South Pacific or so, maybe South American, like around that Barbados type area. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where it is. But anyway, within the story, it's about this island called Carcosa that is told by anecdote.
Okay.
So in the story, it's always, oh yes, I was there. Exactly what you said. That lost media. Oh, my friend of mine saw it, and a friend of mine was so that's where it comes from, and that inspired this book called The King in Yellow.
Okay.
The King in Yellow is an anthology book. If you want to go Anthology Obscura, here we go.
Okay.
It's a book with 10 or 12 stories, but only the first 4 are connected. The actual introduction to the book, like in the first few pages where, like a dedication, it's this little poem, and the poem mentions Carcosa. All right. I don't have it all. I obviously don't have it memorized, but so the first 4 stories are about this play called The King in Yellow. And it's about the people who've experienced it, and how the play, people who've seen it, go insane. And supposedly it doesn't have a final act. But no one knows because they've never made it that far.
Okay.
So one person is somebody who experienced watching it be performed in a theater. One is somebody who read it. One of them is someone who refuses to read it, and it becomes part of him as well. So this inspired Lovecraft to create the Cthulhu mythos, where it's all indescribable things that you cannot see, but it's there. This is where all of this comes from. The King in Yellow is like a stand-in, and Carcosa, it's a stand-in. It's a metaphor for that evil thing. It's a symbol or a sigil or a place, a book, a film, that can only be described by someone who may have seen it, or I heard a story of this, because anyone who has actually seen it has not survived it.
Okay, hasn't made it to the final act, you said.
Yes, exactly. So meeting someone who's just like in this, you have the one guy who was in the theater when they played it, Henri, the friend, the French friend. He has the burnt hand. He didn't actually watch it, but he was there. It still scarred him.
It affected him in some way. Yeah.
Yes. So he couldn't tell you what was on the film, but it still hurt him. You know, this all goes back to the King in Yellow and the land of Carcosa. This is where all of our modern cosmic horror all kind of stems from this.
That's cool.
You know, and Edgar Allan Poe had some of it in there too.
That's cool that there's just basically these stories are so old. They predate H.P. Lovecraft. That's wild.
Exactly. And they're literally in things. Like I said, True Detective is nothing like this, but they still use the Yellow King.
Wow, I never picked up on that.
And Carcosa is one of the locations in it. Yeah, I've never watched True Detective. Yeah, I've never watched True Detective, so I can't talk more about like the specifics, but I know it's in there.
Yeah, the first two seasons of True Detective are really good. I really enjoyed them. I don't remember much about the third one. I did watch it, but I don't remember that. I'll be honest. But
it was
that's
okay.
cool.
The first two are better.
Yes. But yeah, that's cool that I guess that story's just kind of inspired so many different kind of just different horror movies and stories in general that it I guess technically they're not ripping off this. They're just kind of taking that basic concept and making it their own in a way with a film. Or you know what else is kind of like that? I don't know if you guys have watched it, but Dead Wax on Shudder. There's that. I
haven't watched it yet.
So it's about a record. Same thing. A record. And I know we're going off on a tangent here, but that's what we do at Haunted Hangover. But there's a record where a girl is hired to find. I've only seen it once, and this was like 3 years ago, so I don't remember every detail. But she's hired, similar to Norman Reedus' character in this, to find this record, and the record kills people. And everyone that's listened to it, it's supposed to be the most beautiful thing in the world or something along those lines, and everyone that's listened to it has died. And she's trying to find it, and everyone that goes near it, something happens, people are murdered, this, that, and third. So you're right. Now that I think about it, after you telling me that, Manny, it makes sense. They're not really ripping off. They're just using this basic concept and adapting it to whatever medium they want. Music, film. I'm sure there's fucking clothing.
I need to watch Dead Wax. Then I've been working on bouncing around the idea of a script about a record as well. About it, like an urban explorer.
So it's on Shudder. I would watch that.
It's on Shudder. I don't think they renewed it for
like short
episodes. Yeah, they're like 15 minutes each. I don't think they renewed it for a second season, which was a bummer because from what I remember, because it came out like 4 years ago, I enjoyed it. I thought it was It was a decent story, and just I liked this girl on the hunt for this record, kind of like what's happening in this with the film, But let's jump back into the actual Cigarette Burns episode, and I want to talk a little bit about the cast and the performances, and I want to talk the who stands out to me the most in this episode is Udo Kier, because he's fucking great in this, like he's phenomenal.
He is.
And
He's
that
so
opening, you look at Udo Kier now, and he's kind of like a punchline and a joke. Every time he pops up in a movie, he's like, "Oh, it's Udo Kier being Udo Kier," like weird. I think he was like in a Puppet Master episode.
He was Udo Kier in this.
Yes,
I just remember him in Ace Ventura when I saw him. I was like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
The weird guy, but he's been at Sammy. He's been around, like he was in like Andy Warhol,
but
like Dracula,
that's what I remember
movies.
him the most of.
Yeah, no, for sure, I get that. But I think he's great in this because he's
Suspiria.
not. Oh yeah, Suspiria. Come on, that's like even though he's dubbed.
Everybody
in that,
forgets him in Suspiria.
It's one scene.
It's so random. I know, like one scene, but like wow,
one scene, and they overdubbed
changes the
him.
whole thing.
No, they overdubbed him because they didn't like his accent. So it's like it's hilarious. Not even his voice, but he's great in this, especially in that first act, the scene where he's deadpan. Obviously, again being Udo Kier, but he's good in it. I will admit. When he's cutting out his intestines, spoiler alert, whatever, it's a little ridiculous. But it's a little ridiculous.
It's one of my few issues. That's one of my few issues with it, that it gets a little cheesy. I absolutely love the story. I love this whole thing. On top of that, one more to connect to. I feel like this movie is Begotten. I love Begotten.
Begotten, yeah.
Always loved Begotten. It is like my favorite art film.
I actually saw that with you for the first time a long time ago.
Probably. It's another film that I've been obsessed with. And the first time I saw Cigarette Burns, I said, it's almost as if we're hunting Begotten.
Begotten, yeah.
You know, you ever seen Begotten?
I don't think Sam knows about Begotten.
It's on YouTube. It's about an hour long. It was an experimental film made in '91 by Elias Merhige, who did he did Shadow of the Vampire with William Dafoe, about the making of Nosferatu.
Okay. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Begotten is total experimental film. Like, oh my God.
And you can watch it on YouTube.
Mother is based on Begotten.
Yeah, Mother is
Mother.
That. I remember hearing about that, but I don't think is it Aronofsky? Yeah,
Aronofsky. Yes.
I don't think does he say that it was his inspiration? Does he? I don't think I've ever read an interview where he mentions Begotten.
Oh, yes, he's mentioned it. He didn't mention it. He didn't mention it. I don't know if he mentioned it in reference to Mother, but when you watch Mother and you don't when people get confused about it, just literally read the credits of Begotten, and then watch Mother and realize it's the same characters, that they're all in it. It's the whole story about the rape of Mother Earth and the destruction of God and man becoming God and all that.
It's so funny too, because I feel like back then, like like 15, 20 years ago, I feel like even when we would watch movies, you and I, Manny, it would always be like on either VHS. It was hard. I remember when you had like Roz Williams, you had a copy of it.
Still have.
And it was like, that's like impossible. I think it's on YouTube now maybe, but that's like a really hard like film to find. You know, it's a most notorious one, again, to kind of go back to that. I know we're bouncing around, but it just came to mind. Remember when Marilyn Manson had a video that was so disgusting and violent? Yeah. And it came to light recently because of all the allegations and shit going on with him. But like, I remember that was like, he spits in a girl, they're peeing on her. They're doing all the violent.
Then he did another one. Him and Eli Roth and Lana Del Rey did one.
Yeah. But I remember that first one, like, people were like, oh no, like, he couldn't release it. It was so vile and disturbing and disgusting. But whatever, that's Marilyn Manson. I don't think people want to hear us talk about him anymore. Unfortunately, with everything he's done. So
you know what? He's always been a scumbag. He admitted to being a scumbag. If anybody who's surprised that he's a scumbag, you haven't been paying attention the last 30 years.
I'm like, what are we shocked about?
I read his book when I was 19 years old, talking about throwing bologna on some girl's ass in the backstage. It's like, he's always been a piece of shit. Why does this surprise you? I made my qualms with the fact that I liked his music of an asshole a long time ago.
Same here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Udo, Sammy, what did you think of Udo Kier in this? I don't think we got your thoughts on him specifically.
You know me when it comes to like going over these episodes. I always like to put a good emphasis on the acting of. Yeah. Even though a lot of these shows, we're not going to get superb acting. I feel like most of the time. Udo, I think, was great, especially when he's ripping out his intestines. Because to be honest, for a hot second, I wasn't quite sure. I think you're intended to not quite know what exactly it is he's doing. I'm like, is he cutting off his dick?
He's fucking the film. It looks like he's fucking it. Like,
projector.
oh man, I love it.
I had no idea what he was doing, and I know that had to be intentional. I think he was the best part of the episode. On the other hand, There's Norman Reedus.
Her baby, Norman Reedus.
I do really like Norman Reedus. Everybody had a thing for Daryl Dixon at some point.
This is pre-Walking Dead, too.
This is pre-Walking Dead, just a few years before, not like a, decade.
Boondock Saints, fuck Daryl Dixon. Boondock Saints is what everybody fell in love with him.
Was my first...
Listen,
but his acting in this episode is fucking terrible.
Yeah, he's not great in this.
He's dilated.
My biggest bone to pick is just kind of like his underreaction in most of the things that are going on. And this is like a regular ass dude, ex junkie who now is behind on all this debt for this little theater. And he just watched somebody stab both of their eyes out, and he's sitting there like,
all right, I'm just gonna walk out of here.
He's like, if you don't mind, I'm gonna walk right around you. And
he has no reaction to any of the crazy shit that happens.
It's just so weird. I feel like I wanted to watch a man kind of progressively go insane, which is I feel like what they're trying to do, especially with all these flashbacks of these cigarette burns, especially given the fact that he's like constantly reminded that his junkie ex, I guess, supposedly killed herself.
Yep.
But I just feel like there was no progression in his character. It was kind of monotone from the beginning to the end. Now that's not a writing error. That's just an acting error. His performance did not show that. I like to see these.
It's also the direction he was given too.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There you go.
Carpenter changed a lot of it too. I haven't read the original script, but the original script had a lot more of the people going insane.
Yeah,
a lot more. It apparently went more into the screenings, and it went more into the history of the film. There was a lot more of that. And John Carpenter was like, "No, we got to focus on the guy. We got to focus on this."
I'm sure they could have easily.
I'm sure budget made
this could have been a movie.
Made a big
90 minutes. In reality,
it could have been.
It was long. I just that to me kind of made it like a little hard to watch, which again is so sad because I love him so much. But my God, it was just. It was a tough one.
It's funny to see Norman Reedus in something now, like Manny said, Boondock Saints. But and I know there's people that love that movie.
But Norman Reedus is kind of
too. Which is weird.
Norman Reedus is Norman Reedus to me, like I agree. Of what or all of what he does.
But I feel like there's 2 points in Norman Reedus's. There's the pre-Walking Dead, and because all he does now is Walking Dead, and I feel like his career.
He doesn't need to do anything else.
But yeah, I feel like that's exactly what he's going to be known for. Like, he's just going to be known for The Walking Dead now. And everyone's going to forget all the shit, maybe besides Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Like people forgot Boondock Saints a long time ago.
Yeah, but it's just sad that's...
It is.
And I'm not a Walking Dead fan. I watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons. I know Manny's never watched the show. Right, Manny? You've never watched it, right? Yeah.
Not a single episode. Not one single episode.
You know, and for me, it's kind of like... Whatever, it is what it is. He
built his character. He built this career based on this character.
I get it.
I don't think he needs to do. As long as they keep putting them out, he's gonna keep doing it. I don't blame him. He's gonna get his own
show apparently.
I mean, he had that huge contract for that video game too. Let's not forget that.
We don't know if they're gonna do that.
That's a lot of money there.
Oh yes, the other woman canceled.
The other woman, she pulled out of the show, so I don't know if they're gonna do it
now. But yeah, to go back to his acting, I will say he is pretty horrible. The scene that stands out to me the most that's kind of rough to watch is when the first interaction he has with the father-in-law, where he like flips him off. He's like, "I'll get you your money," and then he like flips him off, and it's like awkward. It's like, who flips someone? Like that's not. He could have just been like, "Fuck you."
It's 2005, bro.
I know. So he's gonna hit you with the double bird behind your back, and it's kind of like.
I hate my father-in-law.
Because
I also feel like it's just
she is annoyed. She is annoyed.
I also feel like, again, when we're talking about this character progression, like we go back to when he was a user, and we can assume now that he's no longer using. He cleans himself up, and he looks like he just put on a white shirt. Like he doesn't cut. He doesn't get his hair cut. He doesn't shave his face. I don't know. I mean, we had enough budget at least to fucking do that. Cut his goddamn hair. For the
could,
sake of it.
We could even, I hate to do it, but you could put it on Carpenter. He didn't want to direct.
And that's what
Carpenter,
that's where it comes.
Yeah, I mean, besides the fact that Reedus clearly just dialed a lot of it in, it seems like maybe Carpenter dialed it in. Like he was just there.
Just wanted to get it done.
Like, because Reedus could have turned up his performance on his own. You don't need a director to tell you to work, to do more, to put your,
but that's
as an
what a
actor,
director's
you
there
can
for.
feel it. Yes. But that's when the director's looking for a vision. As an actor, in and of yourself, you can tell when you're giving everything, or if you feel I could do better. Let's try that again. Yeah, you can feel that. So he totally could have turned it up on his own. Udo Kier was himself. Udo Kier put in what he does all the time. Yeah.
I did really
he's
like.
Always on. I
did really like the episode. I will say that I like this whole concept. Very like theater of the absurd, and then they kind of get into snuff films too, and I did like it a lot. With me, the whole spiritual part of it, like having the angel and the wings cut off, I don't know. We didn't really need it. Yeah. I feel like we didn't need it, and I would have maybe enjoyed it a little more if we didn't have that. However, if you're gonna put it in there, I feel like we need more kind of like religious references throughout the episode. You know what I mean? We kind of, it didn't click to me right away that was the same wings for the same creature, and that the angel gets, it took me a while to understand what was going on there. But I feel like you're going to start off with showing like this angel getting its wings ripped off. I was expecting some kind of foreshadowing for it being a more like spiritual, godly, evangelical kind of experience. So that was also like a little misleading. But that's just me personally. I just kind of like, you have that first 5 minutes to really show me what I'm about to watch. You know what I mean? So I was a little confused by that little moment.
I see what you're saying.
I can admit too that my whole thing with the King in Yellow stuff and Begotten, I put it on the film myself. I fill in those holes as I'm watching it. Like, I'm seeing what I want to see in it.
You can interpret it your own way,
exactly,
however you want.
Which is what yes, of course. Yeah. That's what you get to do.
Yeah, that's why that works for me. I can totally see it not working for somebody else, because you're right, they're not explaining it. The fact that he makes a deal with the devil, and the devil kidnaps an angel, and and he brings the angel to him, and they rip off the wings of the angel, because what happens in that lore is when you rip off the wings of an angel, they become human.
Yeah.
But as long as this film survives, that angel is around, and that's what he says.
Because it's a part of the film. Yeah.
He says exactly, he's a part of the film, so they're all connected. Which is, so when he gives the film to the angel in the end, you can assume the angel's going to go now. He's going to burn the film so he can finally die
and be free. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why he says at the very end,
I think he's like, thank you for this.
Yeah. So. And all those things are you're absolutely right. It's very lightly peppered on there.
It could have been eliminated. It could have been completely cut out.
So I don't know if it could be cut out, because that's the curse of the film itself.
Well, yeah, they could have
that's
made
the point.
Yeah. It should have been heavier, and I totally
that's what
agree
I think.
That.
I like it, but I wanted more.
You want to lay it on thick. Give me some heavy mayo.
If you're gonna do
mustard.
if you're gonna have a wingless angel in shackles, I mean, I really am expecting that to kind of be like, where did he get this angel? Did we ever get to see any of that?
And what brings me back to Carpenter as well is that shot where you have Udo standing there and you see the wings behind him.
Yeah,
they didn't even plan that. The wings were supposed to be at another spot, and they could, and it just for whatever reason it didn't fit or something on the set, and they just stuck them on the wall.
I did notice that.
And then Udo walked in front of them, and they were like, "Oh, look at that! That's great!" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, Mr. Carpenter, how did you not see this? How did you not walk in the room and go, you're going to stand in front of that?" He didn't block Udo Kier to do that.
Yeah.
Udo did that on his own, and it was just like a whole accidental thing, which makes me back to that whole like, well, wait a minute. How much effort did you as a director really put in, or did you just kind of, you know what, I've been doing this 40 years, I could do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
It's, we're just going to shoot this over whatever and get it done.
If you think about it, Carpenter directed this.
He hated it too when it was done.
I
hated it.
I don't even remember that.
Yes, he hates it, and then he talks. Then he suddenly liked it again.
But then he
hates
did
it again.
Pro-Life, the second season, the Pro-Life episode. He directed one film after this, The Ward.
Which is the same writer, too.
Yes, and he has not worked on a film since. So this was towards the end of Carpenter working. He was trying to get a couple checks. I
like The Ward, too.
You know, I don't remember. Is that Amber Heard? No.
Yes.
Is it Amber Heard? I don't remember.
That's Amber Heard and the Rasmussen brothers.
Speaking of someone else that is doing things, but yeah, I can agree. You know, it's a good story overall. I think the story itself is what saves this episode. It's intriguing. The whole film. It is a little lazy. I think Udo Kier hamming it up in those scenes and being Udo Kier definitely save it.
Very hammy.
Yeah, and I feel like, even looking at it now, like watching Norman Reedus' performance, I can let it slide for what it is. For what it is. It's a John Carpenter piece. I think the music is pretty solid. I thought Cody Carpenter, you know, he sounds
it's
like his dad.
It's a little repetitive, though. It sounds great, but that piano, just like every 3 minutes, where here it comes again and again and again. It's like, okay, I get it. It's weird. Got it.
Yeah.
We get it.
It's weird. I want to talk about a couple things here before we wind down on this episode. But first things first.
Notes.
That scene with the guy with the leather mask when he goes to pick up the pieces.
Let's talk about that.
The pieces.
Dino Velvet.
Yeah, it was like Dino Velvet. Yes,
Dino Velvet.
But that scene, I love the setup of that scene where he tells the taxi cab driver, stay outside. I'll be out in 10 minutes. He goes inside. And he's talking to the dude. He has a box full of, I guess, memorabilia. It's supposed to be he doesn't own the film. He collects pieces. He has photos.
Didn't he say that the director gave it to him?
Yeah.
He said it was he gifted it to him?
Bakovich's widow.
Oh,
that's how he finds out about the widow.
He's in contact. He's basically been harassing her for years for things, and she gives him things just to shut him up, just to leave me the fuck alone.
And he wants to be a filmmaker too.
Yeah.
That's kind of his whole thing.
But he doesn't want to be a filmmaker because he hates the fakeness of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he wants real.
He only believes in real things.
Yes. Snuff is art.
Well, I do want to talk about in that scene where two things. First things first, what did you guys think of the decapitation? I thought it was pretty
terrible.
Good.
I liked it.
Terrible? It wasn't terrible. It was all right.
I like that he couldn't quite get through right away. I thought that was more realistic. He was
which is cool.
Give it a few tries.
But she doesn't move. He hits her and she doesn't move. Because they clearly shot it in reverse, where he pulls the thing out. But you just got to do it. And my camera's reversed. I'm trying to do it, but it's like you got to go move with it a bit. So he hits her, and it's like hitting a brick wall. She doesn't. No, but her head doesn't even move.
Yeah.
Like the blade hits her in the neck, and she just sits still, and then it's almost like what did you pause the film? Like. It's really cheaply done, and then he pulls her head off, and the blood just keeps squirting across.
Well, yeah, it's
which is fine in some.
It looks like
movies.
an '80s effect. It looks like an effect from the 80s,
we're here for the gore.
Which I appreciate.
Gonna do that.
Yes, and I'm fine with it. The problem is it doesn't fit the tone of the story.
It does come out of nowhere.
It's not a realistic blood effect.
Yeah.
And once again, Norman Reedus completely expressionless.
Just sitting there.
Just watch somebody get their fucking head chopped off.
He's not dramatic at all.
She gets her head cut off. He pulls the glass off. Snuff isn't art. That's what you have to say. That's what you have to say. This is art. He just killed your cab driver.
Art.
This poor woman just got decapitated. And he's just
he killed
chilling.
the cab driver. She's dead because of him. If he had let her
curious
leave,
who this woman is?
She's the cab driver.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yes,
Didn't even
exactly.
notice.
Didn't
even notice.
Exactly. It's another lazy piece of thing. You didn't make it clear that this is the cab driver.
You also don't care about her because you don't.
You really
need her.
don't.
Yeah.
But realize
he
she's
hands
dead
her a
because
10, and he's like, "Chill here for a second.
Chill here because you know I'm afraid, or why?
Yeah.
He wants to make a fucking run for it.
She's dead because of your ass. She's fucking dead because of you.
And then another aspect of this scene that I do enjoy, and it's ridiculous, is when he's on top of the dry hump.
I knew you were gonna go there.
I was
absolutely.
I was like, listen, this dude went all the way with it.
It's
he went all the way.
Being like horror movie fans, it's very hard to really make us uncomfortable, right? So something like this is gonna make you a little bit uncomfortable. His hand's covered in blood. He's rubbing his mouth. I'm like, are you guys gonna make out or what? Are we gonna do this?
But then the bad tattoo kind of ruins it all.
Oh, the film strip?
Badass with the film strip, like
pretty cheesy.
But, you know what? It is cheesy, but look at the guy. It was like perfect.
That's what doesn't. But that's it for me. It didn't work for him. I actually like the idea of the tattoo, but on him, it's like, okay, dude, now you've gone into cheese.
Film.
You've gone into cheese,
but you have film tattooed on you.
Exactly.
I really liked it. I like that whole scene. I like that. I like that
scene.
I feel like he should have been in the film crew at Cecil B. Demented. He pulls up his nipple. Here, Hans Backerfick right there.
Yo, dude, he's the character that was supposed to be in Cecil B. Demented. They deleted him out of the movie.
Right.
Exactly, and that's what I feel like.
That's
with
what
that
I got,
tattoo.
like these whole like neo-Nazi kind of vibes.
Yeah,
well, I think that's what they were going for. I think they were going for like the snuff.
And his whole belly was he like walked belly first. He was like no
shirtless. He had to be shirtless. Yeah, it was.
So what you're saying is the guys who made Serbian film like this too.
Yes, dude, that's what this reminded me of. I was
Serbian
like, wait a second.
Dino Velvetin Serbian
film.
Oh, listen, a Serbian film is another film I watched with Manny.
Stupid.
Is a stupid movie. It's a dumb movie. It's dumb.
Watched it. I was just curious. Just like everybody else in this movie, it's like you know that it's so absurd, but you're still like a little.
It's too absurd. It's too to me.
It's really just there for shock value.
It's extreme. Yeah, it's just an extreme. But it's beautifully made. It's absolutely freaking gorgeous.
Yes.
If you want to see one, have you seen Trauma, the Spanish film Trauma?
I've seen Trauma with you.
No, not Argento's Trauma.
No, I think I've watched this Trauma too. Oh no, maybe
no, it's only like a couple years old.
Oh no, I haven't watched
it's a new film. Trauma.
I'm thinking of Shram.
Shram is
Shram.
Yeah, no, this is a Spanish film from 2015, 2016 or so.
I gotta check it
maybe
out,
2017. It's pretty sure it's on Tubi. Wow, this puts Serbian film to shame.
Gotta watch it.
Extremity of this. This is uncomfortable, hard. Oh,
it takes itself serious?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's also based on a true story.
Oh, all right.
It's based on true events. It's based on, I think it was in Venezuela or Peru. There was a really extreme militant takeover of the government, and they just abuse citizens.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Sounds
so they weave, they weave a story during this.
At a certain point, and it's not a matter of like, do I like enjoy it? It's just I don't. Things don't really make me uncomfortable anymore. It's kind of the same concept of like how we're so obsessed with like serial killers, and they're just throwing out these documentaries like, and she had her eyelids ripped off and shoved into her nostril, and you're like, oh, tell me more. Like you want to be taken to that place where it can really be that bad, because in your everyday life you're not doing shit like that. So I mean, you know, little things like that. That's why I like this episode, because it's of this whole idea of this absurd film. It's like
so really quick. We'll start with Manny. So, what's your favorite? Just one of your favorite moments or thing about this episode about Cigarette Burns?
Clearly the whole curse part of it, but I think my favorite scene is the critic.
Yes.
This critic who was.
Oh my God! I forgot about him.
Yes. The critic who is at the screening. And he's been writing a review for 30 years.
That's wild.
He's so obsessed and just completely engulfed by this. 30 fucking years he's been doing nothing but writing about this.
It's really intriguing.
And like there's implications there that, again, probably could have been laid on a little heavier. But maybe the writer wants you to think about it. Where if this guy's been... Now imagine, put yourself in this writer's shoes. And you are... singularly focused on this film for the last 30 years, doing nothing but writing a review. Does this guy eat? Does he sleep? No. Does he do anything? If he doesn't, how is he still alive? You know, like he's so completely obsessed with this. Can you actually see him stopping and going to get a burger in the middle of this? And you know,
they keep it ambiguous. I get that. I do like that too. Now that I think about
you would have to. Yeah, you'd have to. Really
so
pick that
in
out.
my mind, one of those things I put on it is the fact that he has literally been sitting at this typewriter for 30 years, and he's supernaturally still alive.
That's wild. I didn't take it like that at all.
I didn't. Now I'm like, I'm really thinking about it.
At least that's why I love this. I could put so much into it that fills in the holes and just makes it so much more than it probably was ever meant to be.
Yeah, you're overthinking it in a way, but
I'm
that's
totally
a good thing.
I'm exactly. So I'm building it up to a whole lot more than it actually is, but that's what I love about it, that it gives that room where you can interpret that, and I feel like some of the best films can do that.
When I watched that scene and like Kirby, he comes in and he like the first paper he grabs, my immediate comment was like, how is it that the first paper he grabs is a review? I was like, that's so stupid. But then when you find out that he's just been doing this,
it's all of them are
reviews.
It's all a review.
I laughed. I honestly thought it was so funny. But it's such like a cliche character too. It's like, I'm gonna come to the door. I need to talk to you. I'm not talking to anybody. It's about the review. Bzz, all right,
come on in.
Come on in.
See, there's another thing. What is he? He's got a buzzer on his log cabin.
Oh, wait, was it that? I don't know. Maybe
he does. He's in the middle of the night, and he buzzes. He does buzz him in.
Upstate New York.
Like, wait a minute. But that also means it also puts it more to that this guy he doesn't even stand up. Like he sits there. Like how the papers got across the room. Like it's very. It almost puts me in that shining thing where where when you watch The Shining, you realize that the typewriter is reloading itself.
Oh yeah.
The paper just reappears in the typewriter. He never actually loads the typewriter, but somehow there's always paper in it. You know, it brings me to that kind of mindset of what's happening that's not being told. You know, and if you just expand out on that character, you start to realize, holy shit, this guy should be dead.
Yeah. Again, keeping it ambiguous is probably the smartest thing to do when telling the story. I will say they do have a shot of his like nasty teeth, I guess, to confirm that he's not showering.
He's just not taking care of himself.
He's got like all his
brushed teeth in 30 years.
Yeah. Let's make it look like he hasn't bathed in a couple of years, and there you go. He's just sitting there writing this
Imagine
review.
what that place smelled like.
I don't even want to know.
Regis did not sell the smell. There's no sell.
Yeah.
That was the one thing he could have sold a little more.
Yeah,
Come
he should
on,
have been like, do you need a sandwich?
God damn, I don't want to come in here at all. I don't the stench
Maybe you
in
need
here.
a sandwich.
Did not sell it.
Sammy, what about you? What's the one moment or thing you love?
I guess
your favorite thing about this episode.
Okay, I have two things. I'll be quick though. I like that we see Bakovic? Is that his name is?
Yeah.
Bakovic. I like that they show him because throughout the whole kind of episode, I kind of took it as this is some mysterious sick son of a bitch who did this movie and blah blah blah, and we never actually get to see him. But then you like go to the wife's house and there's like pictures of him everywhere, and then she gets to talking to him, and he's just like a regular dude. He got into his own trap. So I actually like that they showed him. And a really gratifying moment for me is when Norman Reedus Kirby kills himself.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I think because I brought up several times how like I just kind of didn't see enough progression from his character. I was just kind of waiting for him. No. No, I was like waiting for him to just like show me that he was mad and show me that he goes crazy, and it was just in that hard 65 seconds of him just like bashing the dad's head in the ground and shooting himself, where I'm like, finally we see him gone mad. You know, like it was like what I needed to just kind of seal it all in for me, so to speak. But that was probably my favorite part of it.
No, those are
I'm sorry to say it that way. I didn't mean it like, you know. And,
I love the part where he blows his brains out. That's my favorite part of the whole episode.
But it was finally like the level of madness that I like was craving throughout.
It's the one time he shows real emotion where he's upset and he's had enough. No, I agree.
It's
that's
also
kind
his
of what was
epiphany.
missing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his epiphany, where he realizes that she's going to be tortured as long as
he said that, right? He was like, I'm going to be with you now, or like it's over, or something like that.
As long as we keep remembering you or thinking about you, something along those lines, she's never going to be free or something like that. It's almost like she's trapped in the film is kind of what they're trying to say in the cigarette burns. One quick thing that I loved, and it's a moment that you know within this episode that I really enjoyed, was the projectionist, his friend that works at the theater. how he collects cigarette burns from different films.
I think it's the coolest, like, little collection.
It's so cute.
But that guy's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's a fucking asshole. Can you imagine being the projectionist who gets the film print after them and, like, you don't know when to switch the reel?
I think that's what his point. He says he wants it to be chaos.
It's anarchy. It's anarchy.
Like,
exactly. And it's like, what a fucking
what
asshole.
What a
fucking asshole. You know? Could you imagine watching a movie? You're sitting in a theater, you're watching Suspiria, and the projectionist doesn't know. So we're just about to see Helena Marcos, and this film goes out because the projectionist missed the burn. The projectionist missed the hole.
Oh my God, you're right.
Suddenly it's like, what an asshole.
And that character too, it was just cool. And I feel like if this was a film, like a feature-length 90-minute, 2-hour-long film, they probably would have done more with him. Because he kind of just disappears halfway through it, and he calls him at the end. And
we get rid of him on the telephone, like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it.
It's like
I'm not mad at you.
He probably would have been killed, or something would have happened if this was like a feature-length, film. I feel like, but I just thought that was an interesting little character quirk.
He's like the only character that's not killed or hurt in the movie. He's the only one. Everybody else is affected or damaged or something in some way.
He's an asshole like the rest of them. He just doesn't get killed.
But he doesn't,
So let's wrap it up here and close off cigarette burns. Any final thoughts on this episode, Manny? Anything you want to say just kind of to close it out?
I want to know, Henri, the French guy, your favorite.
Yes.
Your favorite. Him and Kirby, like, he's known him for a long time.
Yeah.
He goes in, I see you're on the hunt again in this terrible dialogue scene. But how many years has you known him and he hasn't taken his hand out of his pocket to show you it's burned?
Yeah, that's so weird.
Like, I was like, wait, where did this suddenly come from? Like, he's had his hand in the pocket the whole time, but you've known him for years. Does he always have his hand in his pocket?
Yeah.
Like, I guess so.
How have you known this guy for years? You didn't know that he's only got one fucking hand. Like,
that is pretty funny. You know what's funny? I didn't think about that until right now.
He's had this burned hand for fucking 10 years or so.
That's how it is.
I have a final thought to your final thought.
What about
Norman Reedus is in so much. Kirby is in so much financial debt in this episode, but he was able to fly to Paris, British Columbia, upstate New York.
Pays for all that. He tells him.
Yes,
Udo
he
pays
all
that.
It's $200,000. Yeah, it's $200,000 plus expenses.
Yeah.
Plus expenses.
You missed that detail.
Yes. All right, I thought I got him.
Yeah, but
I thought I got him.
No, but it's still like, dude, that's it, $200,000. That's all you want for this. Udo Kier just admitted to you he's dying and he wants to see this film one more time.
Well, that's because he owes
Where's his money going to
the
go?
dad $200,000.
Exactly. So
he's paying him
You got
off
the exact. You would think that, like, okay, I got this exact money, I could pay this guy off.
Some interest.
But clearly, the theater does not make money anyway. It's clearly a failing theater. Why not ask for like $300,000 or $400,000? Here's your $200,000, and now I have money to keep the theater open. Dude, he's really not looking ahead. He's like this. Udo Kier's dying. What's he gonna do with his money?
Yeah,
like he'll do anything for this one film.
These are script plot details that they fucked up on when writing this one. That's exactly what it is. Huge plot holes. They completely missed these. They rushed through it. First draft. That's all we need. We didn't need another run through of it. But real quick, would you guys recommend this episode? Would you recommend it as an introduction to Masters of Horror and to end it here?
I would. I think it's one of the strongest episodes of the season, and all these things considered, that just says exactly what the quality of the rest of the show is. And all these issues, and this is still one of the best episodes.
We still enjoy it.
There are a lot of really crappy episodes. Like the first episode was terrible. The On and Off a Mountain Road.
I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember.
That's the slasher. It's the slasher with the car on
the
mountain.
The moonhead guy or something with the teeth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a while.
I absolutely hated that. I'm like, this is episode 1. This is what we start with? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm sure we'll be revisiting this series eventually. Maybe we'll jump into that one. What about you, Sammy? Do you think would you recommend this?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think I'd recommend it.
Especially that you haven't really watched the show, or you're not that familiar with it.
Do
you want to watch other episodes because of this episode?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do for sure, because like I said, I do remember watching it in high school, but that I haven't revisited it since then. And I'm showing my age, but that was a long time ago.
Oh my god.
That was a long time ago.
But,
this made me want to go and watch all of them, even the bad ones. That's just kind of how I am, though.
All right. I agree with Manny and with you too. I think it's a good introduction to the series. It's not perfect, obviously. You would think if you listen to this episode that we did not enjoy this, but we did.
No, I
definitely did. I'm always not. I'm never gonna hold back when it comes to the acting aspects of these things, because it's kind of like it's a cliche that like all horror films or shows have bad acting, and I'm like, we want to get out of that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, Norman Reedus has fucked us with that one. But for the most part, I did really like it, and I would recommend it for sure.
Yeah, so we'd recommend Cigarette Burns from Masters of Horror.
I'm a bit obsessive about Le Fin Absolu du Monde.
Why this particular film?
I have a collection of over 8,000 films. The most extreme images, created by some of the most obscure filmmakers from around the world. I'm not about to drag you up here in the middle of the night for something that made a schoolgirl dizzy. I'm talking about real power.
So that was Masters of Horror, Cigarette Burns. Manny, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
I'm sure we'll have you on again on this one and the main show as well. Where can people find you and information on Dark Tales from Channel X? Let me get the title correct there.
You find all of our stuff at massgravepictures.com. All of our links, trailers, everything. We actually have our New York premiere on June 3rd, Friday, June 3rd at 9 p.m. in Brooklyn at the Art of Brooklyn Film Festival. So come on out and check that out and see the film, and hopefully you guys are going to be there.
I'll be there.
Mass Grave Pictures. Yep, massgravepictures.com is everything's up there. You can find all our socials and everything. Do that.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Haunted Hangover, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/hauntedhangover31.
And if you can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And remember, the best cure for a hangover is
more booze.
Catch you guys later.